Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Now, today I'm going to do the new moon message because it is coming upon us vastly. Tomorrow, as a matter of fact. So, of course, as always, if you'd like to skip ahead to the reading, I will timestamp below in the comments and also in the description box. But certainly, thank you for listening and watching. And it won't be a long one. I know I always say that, but it absolutely won't be a long moon message. And I definitely encourage that you tune in because 9 times out of 10, there's some connection or correlation between the transit and the message and the reading. All right. So without further ado, new moon in Capricorn coming up on January 11th, 2023. Now, key into the date, which lends us to a 111. That's an angel number that signifies a prime time for new beginnings, perfect for the beginning of the new year. And if you remember, as I said, I think it was on the New Year message that you may be incited to want to jump out and start your New Year, New You routine, quite ambitiously. But given the transits that were still in place, Mercury was still a bit sluggish, and some other things were still kind of constricting us from that ambition, there may have been a slow start. But now all systems are definitely in place to have just the support that you need. So this moon is the wolf moon. And again, it's on January 11th, which it'll be happening sometime around like 6 something a.m. Eastern time. So, wherever you are, consider that. Now, we know that Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, right? And that's 10th house energy of popularity, which rules public image, professional aspirations, and career achievements. This moon is empowering us to take charge, authority, and responsibility for our lives, personally and professionally. The operative word is go. Go forward. Go for it, go for your goals. A transit such as this, with respect to all the planets presently being powered in a forward motion and out of retrograde, finally, until April, is just the surge of ambition needed to not only set big goals, but infuse the drive to bring them to a successful completion. It's also a great time to consider what dreams and big ideas may have been waiting on the shelf over the past 10 years or so, or less, of course. In reflection, you may find that you've grown significantly since the inception of those ideas. At worst, some goals may no longer project the same value to your creative currency today. But at best, at best, time in the spirit of good old Saturn may have divinely aligned all of the necessary elements on one accord to afford the greatest possible outcome now. In fact, the difference in time past could be a matter of manifesting as a lamb, however cute and practical they may prove to be, and making history as a goat, the greatest of all time, in whatever you set your mind to, also in true Capricorn form. All this to say, it's a good time to appreciate time for the things that have happened and also for the things that have not, including you. And now, with all systems a go, there's nothing holding you back from making it do what it do, it being whatever truly matters to you. Keep in mind that your how is just as important as your why. Integrity is key, paramount, as a matter of fact. The moon is squaring the nodes of destiny, which may project a heightened sense of priority to life-changing decisions. It's empowering to affirm what you get to do as opposed to what you have to do to make well-grounded, objective power moves. Who's the boss, after all? You are. Govern yourself accordingly. Okay? So that is the new moon in Capricorn message, and I'm going to close it there. Now let's get into the new moon in Capricorn reading. So here we go. Let's cut the cards a bit, even though you know I did before I press record. But for your viewing and trusting pleasure, here you are. I mean, outside of new subscribers, if you don't trust my energy now, you never will. So I don't know what to tell you, but I'm still willing to do it nonetheless. All right, so let's see. Let's see what's on the top. Psh, come on. No, we're not really starting here, are we? 5 of Swords. There's absolutely no way I can finesse this card to be positive, really, in any way, shape, or form. The 5 of Swords is about, yes, but no, because this is about an over-ambition to win at all costs, right? Now, of course, we know there's nothing wrong with giving it your best shot. As I've just talked about, this new moon in Capricorn is about new beginnings. It's about really taking your power back or reaffirming your power and solidifying your position as boss of your existence, right? But it's also very much so about pursuing goals, not just the pursuit of goals, but Capricorn knows how to close. You know, they have the drive to dream it, and they have the drive to accomplish and bring it into a successful completion. So yeah, that definitely takes a great deal of ambition, but the energy of the 5 of Swords is usually much less high vibrational in the matters of it actually, what I can speak to is what I ended the message with. Actually, I just kind of touched on it a little bit, but maybe that's the important highlight, is that with that square to the north and south node, you really need to be mindful of how you respond and react under pressure, or what may feel or even project itself to be pressure to make some life-changing decision. As I said in the message, your how is just as important as your why. You may feel the insistence to make a very important decision that, you know, feels like life or death almost. And you may be faced with certain aspects of that decision making process, or certain aspects of possibility that some may be favorable and others may not so much. But really, the key is not to finesse yourself at this point in time. You've come too far to, and consider another aspect that I talked about is that some things, even in retrospect, were not meant to happen. You know, even with our greatest intentions and our greatest ambitions, you have to give thanks for divine timing and bringing all things into alignment at the right moment. So if you feel like you're under pressure, particularly as Mercury is just about going to be completely direct, it's already been moving forward, but it should be well on its way to its natural orbit by the time we're moving into this new moon. The pressure is, you shouldn't feel this incitement of pressure to make rash decisions or to do something that may be against your integrity for the sake of your own security or stability or even protection at this point in time. There really shouldn't be an incitement that conflicting at this time. And if it is, it's really, I would say, an opportunity to take a pause to really consider the big picture of the outcome, not the most immediate return of results, but what's happening, what does that look like long term? because the last thing that you want to do is get to such a climactic point of creativity as the time that we're in now, and make a rash decision that would jeopardize your success or power move ahead, because it's out of integrity either with yourself, or it causes, meaning it literally causes harm or affliction to what's best for you or to someone else in a way that is unjustifiable. And that's the energy of this card with the Five of Swords. This is unjustifiable competition and almost like a diabolical determination to win at all costs, no matter the casualty, no matter the cause or effect. It's all about the win on this one. And that's not holistically the spirit of energy that I feel is ever quite safe, if I'm honest. You know, ambition is one thing, but when you don't have a consideration for the cost, good, bad, or indifferent, you're veering into tricky territory here. And usually with the Five of Swords, those that look to win at all costs, as I like to say, most times often end up defeating themselves, whether it be in the short or the long run. And in this time, literally time with Saturn in the mix, is not a matter of, a poor decision today catches up with you a few years later. Time feels much more accelerated now. And like I said, the cause of effect of our decision making and our choices seems to have a much more rapid turnaround. And it's not a matter of, oh, well, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. It may be a decision that you make that in an instant backfires to something that is just not favorable, when you could take a moment to pause, as I said, consider what you actually get to do, what is progressive, and whatever you're empowering yourself to move ahead in, not allowing yourself to succumb to things that feel like a pressure of obligation per se. Because if it's inflecting or projecting that language to you, there either is a cause for a shift in your own personal perspective and engagement with that decision, or a reconsideration, or maybe even release of yourself from it or of it altogether. Okay, so that's just a word to the wise. You do what you want with it, but I'm damn sure not taking that energy out. Hell no. We are moving ahead. Let's see. Yeah. Well, I mean, here we go. Because that could be the outcome. Let's just say it like that. Maybe it's very important. That word of the wise is very important right now. That your choices are your greatest power. And the Five of Cups is somebody that is grieving their life choices. They're feeling depressed. They're feeling depleted, hopeless. I heard somebody the other day, and I had never heard this before, that say that the Five of Cups inflects someone that's under a spell, which makes sense in the practical form when you think about the densities that the Five of Cups projects, such as depression and shame, guilt, remorse, all of those lower vibrational frequencies. It does kind of hold you in a spell to some degree. And I think that's the point of the warning, that you see the great turnaround that just happened right now, even in terms of the cards. Even though I didn't pull that one out, it was like Five of Swords, depression, 5-5, change, immediate change, immediate return and results for your actions. I think that's the point of this, to really drive that home. And it could put you in a position that, like I said, is not as easily reversible as it may have been in the past. We're dealing with a different frequency of time right now that I don't have any particular proof of, although I know that some ingenious astrologers really know exactly why it is the way that it is. but I can just sense the energy, and certainly how it comes up even in the messages confirms that time is not what it was yesterday. Like we're dealing with something different here, and Saturn particularly being that expression of karma and cause and effect, ruling the 3D realm, it's probably not a good idea to play with that energy when a new moon in that regard is squaring the north and south node, which is still in Aries in the north and Libra in the south, if I'm quite correct. Libra also ruling justice and cause and effect, and Aries ruling initiation and identity. You don't really want to mess around with those two polarities in an unlawful way right now. Now is the time for repentance, for reaffirming what is true and real of your identity. And again, as I said, bringing into perspective, like pure perspective, what is necessary to create the ideal life with the least casualties possible, especially unto thine own self. Okay, and that's of course by way of integrity, most importantly. All right, so let's see, because I wasn't really anticipating that, but okay, all right. Like, what the frick? All right, so we got 3 of Swords here. I'm sorry, 3 of Wands. Yeah, which ultimately all of this is leading to the 3 of Swords, by the way it's feeling right now. That heartbreak and, fear and trauma ultimately. But we got the 3 of Wands. This is somebody having an expectation, but coming off the energy that we on, this is somebody having an expectation for some diabolical intentions or investments. So what they have to look forward to, as I've said, is this immediate return of karma. It's not like the universe is not effing around, all right? Like you can keep acting like you don't know if you want to, and deluding yourself to believe that if you just continue to put in the work the way that you always have, you'll get those results. As I said yesterday prices, even since yesterday, ain't today's prices. You will pay a much higher consequence for diabolical determination in this season. And really, it doesn't even have to be like diabolical, like you're trying to kill, steal, destroy. 5 of Swords is kind of like more it has more of an inflection of jealousy. When we talk about the 7 of Swords, that's usually more diabolical, but 5 of Swords is more resistance on account of jealousy and envy, or just not wanting to be accepting of one's place of presence, like feeling like they need to challenge another's for ultimate like defeat, or even to just take over somebody else's spot or position. It's like, but is putting the energy behind it, or sometimes just being in competition in ways like, because usually with the 5 of Swords, the other 2 energies are more unsuspecting, like it's somebody that's really projecting competition with others, but they're really more so in competition with themselves. They're trying to prove something to themselves, but as opposed to the 5 of Wands, where everybody's kind of in on it at one time, this is someone that doesn't care who he has to step on to ultimately prove himself to be the victor of the spoils, So someone with that energy has the expectation that they're going to get a great return on that expel. And it's like, no, you're not. You're either going to end up in jail or in spiritual jail, like completely bound from progressing forward, which is really a sin and a shame in this portal of empowerment that we are surging into, where we're being supported to move ahead in our greatest ambitions. This is someone that's basically having to sit that ass down. That nothing is going their way. They're feeling, and it's been on account of this exchange of energy is what I'm seeing here between the Eight of Swords and the 10, where, as I said, with the Five of Swords, this is the intention, to keep people stuck and bound, to basically exalt self over others that have been impaired or maybe disabled or, destroyed even in some way, shape, or form. That's been the intention of some of these darker motivations and, power forces out here that are being brought to an end ultimately with the Ten of Swords. Like, I really didn't want to get into this type of energy today because yesterday seemed like we were about to be on a new inflection, and maybe we still will be, but this is definitely the fate of those that have moved against the grain of evolution, and particularly against the grain of grace for others, for sure, because that's what the Five of Swords is. It's a lack of grace for anyone or anything. It's very self-motivated, and I need to do this for my own, for my own empowerment, for my own advancement, and F everybody else. Or if you get caught in the crossfire or you become a casualty, it's kind of like, oh well. And really, honestly, I would say with the Five of Swords, that may be more Seven of Swords, but to some degree, it's still like almost, with the sirens coming through, it's still almost like, sometimes with that Five of Swords, he looks a bit too pleased to be defeating someone else. So there's still some pleasure that's taken in the demise of the opponent, of which sometimes doesn't even know they're a damn opponent, and that's what creates the imbalance and, the unlawfulness, at least in the spiritual sense, which would land you in spiritual jail or spiritually bound in some way, shape, or form, because it's just like, it's just not even a fair fight. It's not even a fair fight. It's with the motivation of corruption and betrayal. And so that's what it ultimately, that's the residual effect. That's what comes back to whomever. This is what he can well be, he can successfully, or he would be well within his rights to have the expectation for energy such as this to be returning. I don't know what he thought was coming, but it's not going to be that if what he's been doing is the Five of Swords, So let's see. Let's see what else we got here. And something else, when I was getting into the moon message, it's like with those polarities of the North and South Node squaring the moon, it's like you're in the driver's seat, you are the boss with this transit, and in this season, good, bad, or indifferent. So I speak more to the higher frequency of empowerment, of course, but you're well within your rights to choose to continue to do the things that you feel are, have gained you results previously. And that's the rut that people are being stuck in this pursuit of power, or I should say this like obsession with the possession of it, or maintaining the possession of it, because you still have that right to do so. But whereas before it may have had more of an external effect, like output, it's not that anymore. Now the effect is going to be a personal one. You're going to feel what you have been inflicting or projecting. Okay, you saw how that just slung out here, right? And I'm gonna put him right up here, because by God, I would love to get some fresher energy on this board. Yeah, the obsession for possession. And in this regard, it's like the betrayal is deep. The betrayal is definitely a self-sabotage for sure, but it's also on account of the energies that people have, in this darker nature, have surrendered themselves to. So for instance, just putting it plainly, mystically, but plainly, those that have been working with diabolical forces because they've yielded a certain level or a certain volume of success, you know, they're being portrayed even by those systems or by those organizations or collaborations, affiliations, you know, the influences that they allowed themselves to align with are turning, you know, they're literally, it's like the devil is here like, bye bitch, like my work here is done, like you're flat on your face, that's all I wanted to see, you know, nothing more to see here. And that's the darker nature of us all, to bring you as low as you can possibly go until you can't even see the light no more. But as I said, it's more self-sabotage than it is anything, than it is, you know, any victimization, because you have to be in agreement with this force for it to truly take precedence in your power structure, you know, for it to literally overpower you. And this is Capricorn energy, by the way. The devil card certainly is. And practically speaking, it's about limitations, you know, when we allow ourselves to be governed by our limitations, what we can't do, what we're not enough for, what we don't have enough. Like, those are the energies that would impress upon you to make rash decisions in the way that I was talking about before. These projections of what, you know, almost like a fear of poverty to some degree, or lack, or you know, just not having enough, or again, just being limited in some way, shape, or form, to make you feel like you have to overcompensate or overpower that reality, when it's more illusionary than anything. You know, it often absolutely is an inflection of illusion to make you feel like you're not whole and complete as you are, no matter what the circumstances may be, and that you're still grounded enough to make, it's like, practically speaking, not having enough to pay the rent or the mortgage. So you tell yourself, or that lower vibe tells you, well, you know, you just gonna have to get out there and do what you gotta do. Well, what is that? You know what I mean? Like, what is the price of rent these days on your compared to your soul? You know, it's like, what you gonna go out, sell your body to make a couple dollars to make it through this month? You know, then you owe a debt to your spirit at that point, or you want to go steal it, rob somebody, hit some lick or some scheme. Well, then you owe a debt to spirit outside of self to, you know, make good on that exchange, that cause and effect. Justice must be served to balance that out. So that means you may pay the rent this month, but next month you probably won't have the rent or the light bill, or the, you know, it'll be something else on top of that. And on top of that, you may catch a case. You know, those are the energies that force you into these life or death decisions, to do something out of character, out of integrity, out of safety, infringing upon others. That's the energy here that you just want to be very mindful of, because it is an illusion. There's too much on the horizon. And if the universal energies are telling you that now is the time, like celestially, cosmically, they're telling you that now is the time to bust a power move. This is the prime time when these energies like to show up, both in the highest vibration and lowest, because in the lowest is for the sake of protection. I'm sorry, in the highest for the projection of protection. Let me say that. Like, you got to do this or else. But in the lowest is to catch you slipping, so that you can slip into the darkness eternally and almost feel like you have no way out. So this is the prime time for an energy such as this to rear its ugly head one way or the other, internally or externally, to distract you from an impending success. So one thing's for sure, you can kind of celebrate if it does present itself to some degree, or if you see it and you catch it for what it is, even more celebration, because you know that you've grown and evolved from maybe perhaps once upon a time when you may have seen it, may have even engaged with it, danced with the devil a little bit before you allowed yourself to be completely seduced, but we ain't doing that. We ain't even playing those games. I pray it for you anyway, that you don't even yeah, exactly. You don't let yourself be seduced in any way, shape, or form, because it's just too high risk now. And look at that. Look how that turned over that fast from what I'm saying. Like, this is where you are already. This is where you can maintain, you in the higher vibration can have a great expectation of prominence and the power of the star energy, because you're focused on your destiny. You're focused on what you're designed to do and be and have, and not in that order. It's really be, do, have, but you know what I'm saying, Yeah, and that's another inflection I would like to say to beware of, when you're focusing so much, or things are projecting you or inciting you to focus more on what you need to do. Like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? That's a perfect moment to stop and reassess who you need to be, or who you're even being right now. Who do you get to be to have a certain desirable outcome? Responsible, honest, integral, upright, honorable, like all these things that matter, that would combat those darker forces right from the gate, because you've reaffirmed your true identity, so that you won't even allow yourself to slip into a darkness of some illusion or some distorted sense of self, because you've already affirmed yourself at the identity where, like I said, North Node Aries, identity and initiation. Initiation feels like something, as I'm saying that too. Maybe this is prime time. You know how this might be open enrollment for some, for some energies, like on the lower and higher polarities, to really try to engage you into their organization in some way, shape, or form, like prime time to try to court you for affiliation. I felt that when I just said initiation, and you see what energies are on the board. And what I thought of when I said that, though, what came to mind is how I saw a message, well, it was like an ad about open enrollment for health insurance, particularly for entrepreneurs or small businesses, or people that are self-employed. And that's what I saw in my mind. And given that the star also is representative of healing, yeah, something's in that. Something's in that. That, and we're also speaking about projecting a certain identity of affluence and authority in a very sovereign state. You being the boss of your life. You have to be healed in order to do that, or at least be intentional about your own spiritual healing, energetic healing. It's very hard to be a good boss. That movie Bad Boss or Bad Bosses. It's very hard to be a good boss when you're still holding on to some lust for possession or control in overt ways, and in very imbalanced ways, where there is no space for co-creativity with spirit, first and foremost, to bring about the success that you desire. It's all tunnel vision focused, like I gotta do this to get that type of energy. Just beware, because those are the prime candidates for dark vibrations to attach to. I guess that's why I'm saying that. When you feel like it's all about the doing and the having, and you've kind of like with that Five of Swords energy, you don't even care who you have to be to do and have. That's dangerous territory. That's the enemy's camp. Yeah, and almost got that with the Ace of Wands. Over abuse and use of power, over ambition. You want to have pure passion at this time. Yeah. What's that? The Emperor. That's too many cards, but the Emperor. Let's see what we got here. Here's the establishment. The Hierophant. What I say? Initiation, right? Looking for prime candidates, stars of supreme healing essence. Ooh, this is just feeling even different to me now. Trying to see who they can recruit. And as I said with the Five of Swords, this is not recruit. This is not always like recruit, come be a part of our team. You may be a target completely unsuspecting to some degree, you know, because if you're healed, then there is, or healing, then there is the inflection of intuition, right? So you might look like a gazelle at the watering hole, but in fact, you're very much in tune to what's going on around you at all times in spirit and in truth. That's the misstep of those that feel that they hold a certain high authority and power, particularly of man-made governance, right? With the Hierophant, structured, ordered, ordained of man's, statutes, so to speak, is what is giving me right here in the way that I'm speaking about it. This is society much more structural, looking to impose these certain limitations on more free spirits so that they can govern them accordingly. And we already know what that looks like. I'm not going to beat that down, but I'm telling you, when I said initiation, I didn't like the feeling that I felt. So as some people are, some groups, covens, organizations are still looking for low-hanging fruit, but they're really not looking for low-hanging fruit. That's the thing. They're looking for organic fruit to not recognize how low they may be hanging, if that makes sense. So for, like I said, for you to get caught slipping in the spirit of depression, in the spirit of anxiety, in the spirit of regret, remorse, guilt, shame, like that's what brings you down to a lower state. And that's imposed usually by way of external interference, usually. So it's like they're attacking on the front end and absorbing on the back end if you're not on guard for it. But you are, because like I said, you are. You've already, those that are in a healing form as it is are more on guard than what is known by the opposing force. And that's the point here, probably, of me yet again being gracious and giving another warning that what you think it is not what it is. Yesterday's prices are not today's prices, and you will pay the price. What you mean to do in terms of keeping people bound and restricted and untrusting of their own energy, their own decision making, is going to have an adverse effect almost immediately. Almost immediately now. See, the issue is, up until now, most recently, things have taken so long to come around. It's like, oh, we good. And there's always been time to kind of like, recoup your losses, so to speak. There is no grace for that anymore. And this is giving me a corrupt judge, and to some degree, because that's what the Hierophant can be. It's like you will reap the judgment of the justice of your judgments at this time, whatever that may be. And even in the highest vibration, hooray! But in the lowest vibration, you've been out here, abusing your power and authority, especially upon people. Yeah, I ain't gonna take it, but look, okay, maybe I should, I don't know. Is this 2 cards? Oh, it's only 4. I could take it. I thought it was much more than that, because this looked like it was flipped over. Looked like it was doubled up. But look at this. Look what I'm saying here. As I said, the justice, because the strength of those intended targets is on another level now. And I love how, I often say that one of my favorite readers, Your Angelic Karma, says that where there's strength, the devil is lurking. Well, I love how the devil came out first and then the strength card, because that's the unsuspected energy that people are still feeling like they can use the same plots and plans to get over on to really just get over. What more do I really need to say? But on a certain type of energy, of course, because what it is now is, like I said, is that the low-hanging fruit, it never really was delectable, but now it's not, how can I say it? It's not only not delectable, it's also not, what's the right word? Like, there's no nutritional value in low-hanging fruit. It's not even entertaining so much anymore. It's more detrimental than it ever was delectable. Maybe it was a little snack, like type of vibes, you know what I mean? Like just a little side snack, or a snack before the main course, or appetizer, let's say. But now it's like that energy is not, it's like repulsive to some degree. It's like disruptive to the system. It's like your body, the forces even of darkness reject it, if that makes any sense. I mean, it was always premium quality and, premium produce and meat that was highly preferred, but it's like what you could get your hands on sometimes could at least hold you over till dinner time. But the problem is that dinner time, people were starving out here, let's put it that way, because those that were more prime rib before, to be caught up in these snares such as this that would bring you to a low vibration and make you more of a meal to feast upon energetically, they've changed their diets. They've changed where they graze, they've changed where they drink, if they drink at all, and especially what they drink, you know what I mean? Like all of those things that even, when we talk about practically by way of addictions and habits, they've completely changed their lifestyles. They're not influenced by the same dark forces anymore to render them a meal or a snack, So it's literally like people that are energetically are looking to feast upon a certain caliber of creativity, let's say, are not really able to sink their teeth or their hooks in the way that they used to, because people are more well aware of where their placement on the food chain, and they govern themselves accordingly. It's like the difference between a grass-fed cow and whatever the hell else, most of probably what is rancid in America, dare I say, at this time. It's a big difference, and it's much more far few in between for what is premium and what is not. So yeah, like people, they're still desperate to find some justice in that pursuit, but the justice, and you know what, this is definitely doubling down on this justice system with the Hierophant and the justice card, that some wrongs are being made right. Some ways that the system has been devouring people and kind of just leaving them for dead are being overturned. And it makes, I don't know, because I've been saying it, my whole point about time has been very pronounced throughout this reading, because I was about to say it may take a while for the turnaround, but I feel like it ain't gonna be that long in some ways. Yeah, with the Ace of Pentacles here, this is like a profound return in a material form, like almost a windfall of abundance, maybe a judgment, retribution, or is it retribution or restoration, maybe, whatever that term is, when you have to, I think it is retribution, when you have to pay back what you owe, or pay for the damages that have been inflicted. Yeah, in the past, people didn't even know they were being victimized, let alone how to truly stand up for themselves and be empowered to demand what is due. And now it's like, because of that shift and stance, the spirit can now deliver, and will, and is. And the death card, that's giving me something very immediate. Let me see what's on the other side of the death card. I hate to move my cards around. Oh, the world. And the king, I'm not gonna move them around, but the world card, that's the end to old cycles as I'm speaking of it. And the King of Cups, like, let me see what's on the other side of the King of Cups, because I'm not feeling fuzzy about that King of Cups right now. Yeah, and that was almost the, I'm not going to take this, but that was almost the what was that, the Page of Cups, and then look at this, exactly. Oh, you probably can't even see, I'm all the way back here. Somebody overindulging in their power, and in what? Emotional manipulation. People that have been, what did I say, manipulating. Yeah, what am I saying here? Right. Manipulating the systems in their favor. It won't stand anymore. It won't stand. Let me get one more after this, Empress, and we out of here. You know what is given? Yeah, and laying that energy to rest. It's like, where people, like I said, still underestimating the power of energies that once were perhaps more primitive, and I definitely stress that in quotes, you know, a lesser species, or definitely a more vulnerable, or a species more susceptible to being emotionally possessed or influenced or manipulated, you know, as such as the feminine energy. But it's different now, because there's a different strength in femininity now than there ever was before, I would say, or at least in this lifetime, you know, for sure, that people are recognizing their power. And I'm saying it as in femininity, not to be exclusive against one or the other, or to be, what's the right word, divisive per se, but it's to express and accentuate the energy of vulnerability here, and what's perceived to be vulnerability, and how can I say it, like a less empowered force when we consider the masculine and feminine, more passive. There it is, like a more passive force. Thank you. And no disrespect, because you know I love my ladies and I love my mans too. So please be clear that how I'm expressing it is not to empower that division whatsoever, or that ignorance, quite honestly, but it's really to just express the spirit of the energy, the projection, this more passive energy that would perhaps consider to be more impressionable by a King of Cups, to play on their emotional side, their loving nature, their nurturing side. But this is the Empress, baby, and ain't no other masculine energy in the physical form trumping the Empress on this board on today. Not a one, which is the inflection of the power and the strength here above her head that is bigger than her. Like, the power that she wields is not even on account. It's the matter of justice at this point, because there's been such a suppression and oppression of the feminine force unfairly, not to project one over the other for the purpose of imbalance, is to just balance the scales at this point. So that means that anyone that's trying to inflict any disharmony one way or the other, back to that Five of Swords, especially to inflate their own objectives, is in dangerous territory, because that's not in accordance with the evolution of the world in the 3D form. That's not what Saturn is even aligned with at this time, the father of the 3D. And celestially, universally, that's out of order and against the law, quite honestly. So anybody that has that ambition will either have to get down or lay down. Honestly, that's just what it comes down to. You have to get down or lay down, and you're going to be falling on your own sword. And what's back here, which I misspoke earlier, which is the Three of Swords on the wall here. It's like you're almost like a guillotine of sorts, that you can choose to be healed and leave behind the old world mentalities and insistence on trauma being the driving force and drama being the determination. Or you can get with the program as it's moving forward, be transformed in whatever way of higher vibration that you need to be by the measures of healing, and indulge in the world order and in the life experience that is destined for you to do so. Everyone has a choice. Literally everyone's empowered to navigate their own destiny at this time. And for those that are resistant to this empowerment on one spectrum or the other, it's out of fear for losing power and not being able to maintain or affirm their authority over their own lives. That's why people are insistent about taking over others' energy and monopolizing it and manipulating it, because they feel a lack of security in their own. But it's like I said, you are the boss. So for those that have walked in that energy and have some course correcting to do, it seems just like a daunting task to see that journey ahead, where you may have a little bit less authority, a little less access, a little less reach than you used to do, a little less diabolical force to some degree than you may have been privy to before, or you may owe some diabolical forces. It's like all hope is not lost if that's the case, if you are willing to turn it around, but if you're going to insist on doing it this way, you're sabotaging yourself. There is no way through that energy anymore. It's not possible. I don't care what source, priesthood, force, order, coven, old world, power structure, organization, corporation that you submit yourself to. Nothing of that order will be successful at this time. The best bet is to get through that energy and hope and pray to live beyond whatever the karmic exchange may be, so that you can begin fresh in the order of truly being sovereign and governing over your spirit in a fresh new way. And those that have been pushing forward, just don't get finessed into feeling any into relenting to the objection of these forces that, left to their own devices, will self-destruct. But you surrendering yourself to theirs will diminish you. They will go down dying, go down fighting, or die trying, I should say, trying to bring you down with them, just for the sheer sake of saying that, well, at least you ain't get to succeed too, So just don't get finessed, because we are not the same. Those two polarities are not the same. Some of us are moving forward in a more powerful and promising future, and some just have a little bit of like I said, a little course correcting to do, and hopefully they'll catch up too. I don't know. It's not for me to say. And honestly, can I say I don't really care at this point that much? I don't. Like, I hope for you, but I can't care too much at this point, because the insistence to continue to make misery for everyone on account of their own is, it's exhausting at this point. And you can't want more for people than they want for themselves. So I have released myself from the carefulness of consideration for people's fate, that which they have full and utter control over at this point in time, regardless of what they think they do. They absolutely, as we all do, have full control over their existence. So, and that's by the power of our choices, right? So if I'm willing to proceed in that power and in that identity, everyone else, okay, in that power and in that force, assuming that authority, we all have the privilege of the same. We all do. We all do. And look at this. I'm done. The Wheel of Fortune is like, some people gonna be up, some people gonna feel down. But it's really all on account of the choices that were made and the continuance of the choices that are made. It still matters. It matters now even more than ever before, because just because certain just judgments and justices have been affirmed in this hour doesn't mean that you can't add more time to that sentence, because you absolutely can, in spirit and in truth. You can make life miserable for your energetic being, and you can actually find yourself behind bars on account of what you continue to persist to do. The spirit and the natural are merging together in such a way where there almost really is no separation. Hence, and this is an expression of time as well to some degree, and this is Jupiter, which is expansive and accelerating, and with this fire energy here with the wands, it's like I said, immediate return for your actions. In the greatest way, of course, as well, because this can also be a windfall of abundance for past actions that have been taken, for self-control that's been surrendered to, empowered energy for receiving divine inspiration and acting upon it, acting in that directive. This is your reward. It is here. It is here. Like I said, it is here. Don't get finessed. It's time to go. Okay? I'll bid you adieu in the most productive and prosperous way possible, in spirit and in truth. All right? And that's all I got to say about that. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Until next time, as always, I'll leave you with peace.